Alright, organizing the structure. Take the time of the map of the tree structure of the object before building another important step of the model process, especially the object with being constructed for the elaborate the model of the time process. Time and resource limited. The work of the perform with the team of the author of the model will be passed on someone else later. Control signing with the construction house and the builders do not actually build houses, they build pieces houses until they are complete with the structure engine emerge. Furthermore, these pieces are not usually built in the random order. Rather, the good builder often is part of the team of carpenters, masons, electricians, plumbers, follow the blueprints, drawing with a group of the pieces into the categories based on functionality, framing, wiring, plumbing, etc., location, basement, bedroom, number one, kitchen, etc. Model processing can be thought with much the same way made by anything but the build, but the modeler should take it only on a roll of the architect with the layout, the way of the breakdown, with the potential complete of the object smaller with more manageable pieces. All steps that can be often reveal logic building order, but the drywall does not get installed with wiring inside the wall that has been run, as well as identified important incorrectness among parts. The following list provide with some of the type of the achieve the good metal structures. Use the top-down approach. A good idea of the design of the structure. Use the top-down approach, beginning with the largest, most incompetent, the most functional and significant part of the system, the working down from there, once again with the model missions of all the important here, with the armor tank with being removed, the ballast, and analysis. Models should probably be structured with the LP with the connect to the turret as grouped together, and therefore we can move together with the turret is rotated. Take advantage of the established organizational convention that it's wise to follow any of the traditional wisely used conventions that might be available in, say, any owners or an operator's manual. Mechanical users would normally accept particular component to be a part of the suspension system. That is why with the modular structural model, accordingly, unless the good reason to do otherwise. 3. Use good naming practices. Clearly associated with that, even the good organizational convention with the structure of the geometry idea, even the good naming convention, the name of the geometry. Although the name may appear with the trivial matter, the fact is that they're not always the established styles and scheme of the initiative and robust and usually helping the end of the user know of the potential complex model. There are a few limitations on how files and objects can be named in Berlicad, other than each file with the object name must be unique. However, the new modelers soon find that the random haphazard run naming schemes lead to the inefficient frustration. The following with a general recommendation provide the help modelers effectively organize and track their development. Their build. Develop logistics schemes, stick them to them, the documentation, if the logic obviously the tiling scheme, for the manufacturer part name, the numbers that are already in play, the user should be taken advantage of the especially highly assembled level of the complete aggregated object, especially with the modelers are involved. The print practice helps establish the logic or structure of the L engine part of the prefix for the save the engine. I have a prefix say ENG, and many of the users already know the names. Table 3 provide example of the number of the logical name convention. Triple Berlicad with the conventions include one initial name tag with the designated shape object for the type of the function sphere, for the S for an A for NT for antenna, F for R for front face. 2. A suffix prefers the X designated with the MGD object for the type of the primitive shape formerly referred to as solids. R for the region, C for shape combinations, and A and G for assembly combinations. A or G for assembly combinations for some sort of the subsequent number of the scheme, the 1, 2, 3 for the information Berlicad shape of the modeling level to C, section 5 below less than 5 of the pending C Berlicad Tutorial volume 2. Note the suffix for the name of the particular useful searching the symbol of the item's large tree with the structure using the MG automation feature for the type of the building pattern tool to the building region command with the appendix E and F. Keep name short prior to the BRL CAD, the release 6 of the BRL CAD type names limited to 16 characters. Some of them with the respective limitation, usually compelling new modelers to resist of the parameter's name of the primitive must detail for the pop along the length of the restriction no longer apply. This is so good idea, especially in the large models and with frequently used objects to keep the name of the object and short and possible to reduce them out with the time that the modular must do with the reduce the possible input error with addition with the vulnerability analysis conduct and codes do not support names of the larger than 16 characters. As shown in Table 3, the exemption practice for the keep the name of the shorts include with the name of the symbol combination level and above with a few names the few names are even the more restrictive title than can be held with the designated overall model composition structure and end user. Establish reserve names. In projects that involve the multiple models developing different pieces of the same geometry, help with some of the case of the particular name designated avoidable possible confusion. Like for example, the team model is developing an armored vehicle to make choose the reserve of the letter H to denote the name tag for any of the components associated with the hull 1, hull 2. This would mean hull shape 1, hull shape 2. This would mean the modeler's building headlight assembly would have to choose another one like HL light, H light, S1, S2. This would standardize the helping establishing common terminology for the project similar components. Alright, D. Avoid using certain letters and symbols. To avoid potential problems associated with the common Unix notation, searching schemes concerning serviceability, lethality, vulnerabilities, analysis, go to the following recommendations or some of the case of the requirements to make regard of the keyboard character of the Berlic CAD names. Alright, use locates Arabic letters, except for the previously mentioned initial capitalization top level. Simply use the numbers with internal commas and without internal commas. Avoid using numerals to begin with a name. Do not use the space between the words. The underline capitalize with the first. Do not use space between words. Use underline or capitalize with the first character of each word. So. Avoid using special characters. Restrict the use of the plus and minus sign to the sufficient primary shape of the combinations. Do not use a dash. Restrict use period itself. I think it's an MDD object type at the end and using other punctuation. Avoid using letter L by itself to avoid possible confusion with the number 1. Alright, 4. Include the right amount of the detail. The structure should only be deep as needed for the application. Obviously, every part of it, no matter how complex it could be, in the theory, would reduce it down to the atomic, even to the subatomic level, to how cost efficient usually would be useful with this speed. But more unnecessarily benefit with the modular should common sense with the consult with the end user of deciding how far and break down with the components and system. Insufficient detail can diminish the model, which is sufficient to reduce the user's confidence, and yet too much detail can unnecessarily drain the time of the research, slow down the process of the time. Application code frustrate users who have to wade through many parts of that they do not need to get what they do need. No, it is not unusual for the model to select relatively arbitrary names when the shape of them is part of the first command, but then go back and rename the model's name. But these two commands, the rename database, they rename only the database object for the type of the following. MV. Old name and new name. Note that the command chain for the new name particular object, but not over any reference for the object that may occur with the combinations throughout the database. Change the object name with all references to the move all command can be used as the move all old name and then new name. Using location function based groupings, components that should be group based on a simple logic category for the location functionality. For example, the structure for the simple radio that was built in Lesson 16, Volume 2 of the Berlic CAD tutorial series Butler ETAL 1001 could be set up in several ways. Figure 4 show the structure-based location. Figure 5 show the structure-based functionality. Radio external components, antenna, boat and case, knob, internal components, board, radio, antenna, case, electronics, button, board, and knob. The instructional phases of the course get trickier than subject of the model that gets more complex, regardless of whether the structure is big for the location function for something else, but not always clearly with it being belong to within which structure. But in fact, some parts of the clearly designed interface between the part of the system and the modular must do. It should play for the tree structure, the consistent treatment of these parts of the module, but the important that you have their ability to understand the model. It is also important to remember the tree structure of the MGD, independent of the geometry created with the structure, is simply a tool for the help of the organized work with a database. Accordingly, with the tree structure that can be manipulated whenever the needs the user may have. The consider example of the model of the room containing a table, the cup on a table at the top, and if the one where wanted to relocate the table along with the cup next to the wall, one would create a temporary combination containing the table and the cup. The combination could then be used to move the two objects together with a new location after the objects are in this position. The temporary combination could be pushed via the discussion push command with Section 5, and then thus delete UFTL kill command in Appendix A, Volume 2. 5. Developing geometry.